Hi, I'm Valerie Engelhart, and in this video I am going to be painting a surreal portrait of a woman with a jellyfish on her head, as if it were a hat. The reason for this painting is inspired by 2023's Inktober, and the prompt was danger. Now for 2024's Inktober, I was trying to focus on portraiture, and I was trying to think of how can I do something fun and whimsical with danger? And so I thought of a jellyfish, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, woman can wear a jellyfish as a hat. That's awesome. I'm only using two colors. I am using M. Graham's Quinacridone Rust and Winsor Violet by Winsor & Newton, which is a dioxazine violet. Both of these are non-granulating transparent colors. And right now in the video, I'm just working with the Quinacridone Rust. And what I'm doing with these paintings is I am isolating values, typically just three values: my light, my midtone, and my dark. And I know that I want the jellyfish to be a warmer color, so out of the two colors, the Quinacridone Rust. And I'm mostly painting in my midtones and some of my darker tones, but I know that I'm going to be adding some purple later. For a couple of reasons. One, the purple is darker than the Quinacridone Rust, and the other is because I know that the hair of the person I'm going to paint is going to be in the violet, and it's great to have lost and found edges when you paint. So that way I can sort of merge the colors of my person to her jellyfish crown. And I'm sorry if you hear any background noise, it is trash and recycling day. So as you can see, I am now moving into her hair and just the shadow that would be on the forehead from wearing this jellyfish. Even though jellyfish, this creature is typically translucent. So any light that would come in, it wouldn't cast much of a shadow. But it's my painting, and I want to create depth, so there's a shadow. One reason I like the Quinacridone Rust is it creates a convincing skin tone, and it can get quite dark, so I can use it for shadows and details and such without having to mix a bunch of colors, because this is a limited palette of only two. Now what I'm doing right here with this shape is an example of paint what you see, not what you think you see. And so this area is the area underneath my subject's chin. So normally when I think of a chin, I think of a little more pointed, inverted triangle, versus this almost looks like I've painted a little mountain. But I am paying close attention to my reference image and trying to match the shapes, because even though the shape might seem wrong, as you add all of your shapes and values, the brain will translate what it is you're painting. And at this point I'm working on the lip. Little tip with lips is have sort of an escape route. And by that I mean, don't just outline the lip and paint it, it'll look just stuck on. Have some of it kind of blend into the area next to the chin, or where it kind of comes up to the cheek, and that way it unifies the face. And then I haven't gotten to it yet, but the upper lip is going to be darker than the lower lip. But right now I'm sort of just masking my value, or masking. I'm planning out where my values are going to hit in my shapes. So even though watercolor being transparent, I can't necessarily go over it again and completely cover something up, but I can at least put a roadmap in for myself. And I don't want to go too dark, that way I can cover things later with darker tones. And I am keeping this video at 100%. So I've not sped this up at all. You get to see how, well, it's not exactly slow, but so many videos to save time, my own included, are sped up so that you don't get bored or you can really tell how things are going. But I find that sometimes people get frustrated that they think they should be able to paint that fast, when in reality, I'm not painting that quickly. And even though I think, still painting fairly quickly, that's for two reasons. One, this is a study, and as part of my Inktober challenge, I wanted to finish paintings in half an hour. And so I'm painting pretty quickly, and that's why I've planned all my values in advance. And then the other thing is, I've been painting for a long time, and my specialty is painting without a sketch. So I've practiced a lot, and this is just more of that practice. So if you go into this but you're not used to painting, it's okay. You don't need to paint so quickly. Take your time, have fun with it, enjoy it. Try to learn something, and that's what this whole process for me is practicing doing human faces, but with whimsical touches of fun, on hot press paper, because I don't usually use hot press paper. I'm usually a cold press, rough press kind of gal, but after doing all these paintings, I've really come around to hot press. Ugh. The nice, slick, smooth paper where the paint sort of sits on top, and you can get some interesting textures that way. And the paint definitely moves differently, the way it sits and cools. And it dries differently too. So it's definitely, if you don't use hot press paper a lot, it is something to get used to. And the first few times I used it without using a sketch first, I was kind of ticked off and was like, I hate hot press paper. I wouldn't use this again. But I've seen so many artists get beautiful results that I decided, as part of my challenge, was to not only familiarize with a subject I don't usually paint, but familiarize myself with a paper I don't usually use. Now, as you see, I'm being very careful trying to lay in the eyes. We as humans give a lot of attention to eyes, and so one other tip that I want to give in this video is, usually we paint eyes too big. A little bit bigger is fine, because we do give so much attention to the eyes, with them being the windows of the soul. But typically, eyes are a lot smaller than we think. And that comes back to paint what you see, not what you think you see. And as you can see, I quote-unquote possibly ruined that eye by going over it with water so that it bled. But I like really loose, atmospheric paintings, not a lot of hard edges. And if you look at a human eye, because it's set into the skull a bit, there's shadow around it with the eyelid and this lower part, the part where I usually get bags under my eyes. But those are all normal. And so a great way to add those shadows is just to paint in the eye as you would draw it, and then bleed some of it away. Right there, I'm lifting a bit of the paint off to create a highlight in the eye. Here we go, nostrils. So because this character's head is pointed upward a bit, we would see the nostril. Now, I'm actually thrilled that I'm getting a lot of tips in, assuming you've made it this far. When painting nostrils, even though they are a dark value, don't go with black. Go with, and I mean, because I've only used two colors, my options were brown or purple. But because the nostril is still on the face where there's a lot of blood and warm colors, try and stick to a warmer color. Or if you're going to go with a cool color, stick on the warm side of cold. Like alizarin crimson's a red, but it's a cooler red. So I would recommend a brown or a red for the nostrils. Otherwise, you can get kind of a look of like you've painted a skull, or it just brings too much contrast and attention to the nose. Or you could even get a piggy look, and we don't want our people looking like piggies unless that's what we're going for. Here I've pulled out a brush that I very rarely use, but I wanted to put stripes on this character's shirt, and this brush is perfect for that. And it's just a little texture brush. I got it at Michael's years ago. I hate the handle of it though. It's kind of like this sticky silicone that grabs onto every cat hair that could possibly exist in my office. But it can be fun to paint with. And it made stripes super quickly and easily. And I wanted to finish this painting quickly, so time was of the essence. All right, everyone's gonna say don't touch your paper to see if it's dry. And I'm gonna say it too, but I also do it, so you know what, I'm not your mom. You do what you wanna do. Now, when I do paint people, because I do like kind of an atmospheric loose approach, I'll do one eye very clearly an eye, and then the other one kind of set off. It's not because I can't paint things symmetrically, no matter what someone might think. That someone's me. But I do like having a little bit of an idea of mystery anywhere I can put it in my painting. And because I give enough information that we know it's a face, so the mind fills in that it's an eye. And I don't know if you can hear it, but it is a very foggy day out, so the fairy keeps blasting their horn. And if you couldn't hear it, well, now you know that I am dealing with the fairy blasting its horn. Now I'm bleeding some of that eye into the hair because I like my shapes to connect. If you can get your shapes to connect, that is another hot tip on hot press, or any press really, but it's good to get your shapes connected if you can. And also by getting my tones, my purple and my brown, even though the hair is still very much purple and the skin is very much that quinacridone rust, getting them to blend together just brings a greater sense of harmony. Now, I forgot to record the part where I add that kind of fluffy part of the jellyfish, but all I did was use a very watered down violet and dab it around my person. And then once that dried, I've picked up a rigger brush that is a size 2, and I'm just adding those little tentacles, little stingers. And we're about to come into a bravery test because I am going to be putting these over my person's face. And with watercolor, once it's down, it's down. There are ways you can lift it out, but whenever you lift on a very detailed area, it's far better just to leave something versus trying to lift it, because if you try to lift it, you'll almost call more attention to it. So just go in with confidence. And these sort of confident things really bring an extra oomph to the painting. I really liked putting these in, but also it's easy to get carried away, so don't put in too many. You spent so much time on that face, let it shine. And then lastly, I'm going in and adding more depth to the jellyfish, and then I've decided that it looked a little too flat, so I'm going to give it a little more volume by adding color to the outside of it. But yeah, that's just how I finish it off. If you found this video helpful, or you just liked watching me paint, go ahead and press that like button. And if you want to see more from me, you really liked how this final painting turned out, press that subscribe button. It lets me know what to keep making. And thank you for joining me today. Have a wonderful one, and bye!